I'm staring at a greeting card that just arrived in our mailbox, addressed to my husband. The envelope is cream-colored, expensive paper, the kind you buy at boutique stationery stores. There's no return address. The postmark is from 3 days ago, which means someone mailed this deliberately, with planning, with intention. Inside, the card has a watercolor illustration of 2 champagne glasses touching. The printed text reads, "Happy anniversary to a wonderful couple." Below that, in handwriting I don't recognize, 10 years of us. Here's to forever. All my love, V. Today is October 18th. My anniversary with Derek is May 3rd. We've been married for 12 years, not 10, and I have no idea who V is. My hands are steady as I take a photo of the card, front and back, including the envelope. Then I place everything back exactly as I found it, close the mailbox, and walk back into our house in suburban Seattle, like I haven't just discovered that my husband has been living an entire parallel life. Derek is in his home office on a conference call. I can hear his voice through the door, that warm, confident tone he uses with clients. He's a financial advisor, good at his job, good at making people trust him. I trusted him completely. Past tense feels appropriate now, even though I'm still processing what this card means. I go to our bedroom and sit on the edge of the bed. Our bed, the one we picked out together 7 years ago. The one where he kisses me goodnight and tells me he loves me, and occasionally scrolls through his phone while I'm trying to fall asleep. How many times has he been texting V while lying next to me? 10 years. They've been together for 10 years. The math makes me nauseous. We've been married for 12, which means this started 2 years into our marriage. 2 years, when I was 31 and thought we were still newlyweds. Still in that phase where you can't keep your hands off each other. Except apparently he could keep his hands off me just fine because he was putting them on someone else. I force myself to breathe slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm a project manager for a tech company. I solve problems for a living. I identify issues, gather data, create solutions. This is just another problem. A devastating, marriage-ending problem, but still. Problems have solutions. I open my laptop and create a new folder buried deep in my work files. Label it Q4 Budget Analysis. Then I upload the photos of the card. I start a document titled Timeline and begin writing down everything I can remember from the past few months. The late meetings, the business trips, the way Derek's phone is always face down now, how he password protected his laptop 6 months ago, claiming it was for client confidentiality. By the time Derek emerges from his office at 6:30, I have 3 pages of observations and a plan. The plan is simple. Say nothing, gather evidence, be absolutely certain before I act. I learned this from my father, who was a detective for 28 years. Never accuse without proof, he used to say, and never let them know you're investigating. Hey, babe. Derek kisses my cheek as he walks into the kitchen. He smells like his usual cologne, the one I bought him for Christmas. How was your day? Fine, busy. I'm chopping vegetables for dinner. My movements practiced and calm. How about yours? Exhausting. The Morrison account is a nightmare. He opens the fridge, grabs a beer. Oh, before I forget, I need to go to San Francisco next weekend. Client meeting on Saturday, probably flying back Sunday night. Next weekend? I don't look up from the cutting board. That's our anniversary weekend. There's the smallest pause. Shit, you're right. I'm sorry, hun. This meeting has been on the books for months. I can't reschedule. Our anniversary is actually in 7 months, but he doesn't remember that. He thinks it's next weekend because that's when V's anniversary is. The one they apparently celebrate. 10 years next weekend, if my math is correct. It's okay, I say, my voice light. We can celebrate when you get back. You're the best. He comes up behind me, wraps his arms around my waist. I don't deserve you. For once, we agree on something. That night, after Derek falls asleep, I take his phone from the nightstand. I've watched him enter his passcode hundreds of times. It's our wedding date, which would be touching if he weren't using it to hide an affair. The phone unlocks on the first try. I sit in the bathroom with the door closed and the fan running for noise cover. Derek's text messages are surprisingly clean. Too clean. There's nothing suspicious at all, which is suspicious in itself. Nobody's text history is this boring unless they're deleting conversations regularly, but his email is more interesting. He has a second Gmail account I never knew about, listed under the name Derek Morrison. Morrison is his middle name. The inbox is mostly empty, but there's a folder labeled Travel, with confirmation emails for hotel rooms, flights, dinner reservations. I scroll back through months of messages. Portland, 4 months ago. A boutique hotel downtown. 1 king bed, 2 nights. San Diego 6 months ago. Chicago, 8 months before that. Every trip is during a weekend he told me he was working. Every hotel is romantic, expensive, the kind of place you take someone you're trying to impress. I take screenshots of everything, airdrop them to my phone, then delete the airdrop notification from both devices. My hands don't shake. My heart rate stays steady. I learned a long time ago how to function in crisis mode. You just disconnect the emotional part and let the logical part take over. I'll fall apart later. Right now, I need information. The credit card statements are next. Derek handles all our finances, says it's easier that way since he's in the industry. I've always had access to our joint accounts, but I realize now I haven't actually looked at them in months. I trust him. Trusted him. I log into our banking app on my phone. The joint checking account looks normal. Mortgage, utilities, groceries. But there's a credit card I don't recognize, one that's not linked to our joint accounts. It's in Derek's name only, with an address I don't recognize. I write down the credit card number and make a note to investigate the address. Then I put Derek's phone back on the nightstand, return to bed, and lie there in the dark next to my husband while he sleeps peacefully, having no idea that his carefully constructed double life is about to collapse. The next morning, Derek leaves for work at 7:30. At 8 a.m., I call in sick to my office and drive to the address listed on that credit card. It's in Bellevue, a newer apartment complex with a view of Lake Washington. Expensive. Very expensive. I park across the street and wait. At 9:15, a woman emerges from the building. She's younger than me, maybe 35, blonde, wearing yoga clothes and carrying a mat. Pretty in an effortless way that makes my stomach clench. She gets into a silver Lexus with a vanity plate that reads Victoria, Victoria. I follow her. She drives to a yoga studio, parks, goes inside. Through the window, I can see her greeting the instructor like they know each other well. This is her routine, her normal life, a life that apparently includes my husband. I take photos of her car, the license plate, the yoga studio's name. Then I drive to a coffee shop and start searching online. Victoria Chen, according to her LinkedIn profile. Marketing director at a tech startup downtown. MBA from UCLA. Professional headshot that makes her look competent and successful, and exactly like someone Derek would find attractive. Her Instagram is public. I scroll through months of carefully curated images. There, a photo from last spring of champagne and a sunset view. The caption reads anniversary getaway with a heart emoji. The location tag is Portland. I check Derek's email archives. Portland, last April, the same dates as her post. Further back, there's a photo from 3 years ago. Victoria and a man whose face is partially obscured by shadow, but I can see his watch, the Tag Heuer I gave Derek for his 40th birthday. The caption, grateful for this one. I take screenshots of everything. Over the next week, I become someone I don't recognize. I track Derek's movements. I note when he works late, and cross-reference those times with Victoria's Instagram stories, which often show wine glasses or restaurant meals tagged with locations. The overlap is consistent. I hire a private investigator, a woman named Angela Torres, who comes recommended by one of my former colleagues who went through a messy divorce. I need everything. I tell Angela during our meeting at a dim sum restaurant across town. Photos, documentation, timeline, whatever you can legally obtain. Angela is in her 50s, wearing sensible shoes and a wedding ring that's been on her finger long enough to have worn a groove. How long do you think this has been going on? 10 years, she blinks. Jesus, can you help me? Honey, I'm going to help you destroy him. Angela works fast. Within 5 days, she has surveillance photos of Derek and Victoria together, entering her apartment building, having dinner at a waterfront restaurant, walking hand in hand through a park, kissing in the parking lot of a movie theater. The photos are time-stamped, geotagged, indisputable. She also finds the property records. The Bellevue apartment is in Derek's name. He's been paying rent on it for 8 years, $3,200 a month, coming out of a bank account I didn't know existed. The account is funded by regular transfers from our joint savings. He's been stealing from our joint savings to pay for his mistress's apartment. I do the math. 8 years at $3,200 a month is $307,200, plus the hotels, the restaurants, the gifts. I estimate he spent close to $500,000 on this affair. Money we should have used to pay off our mortgage early, to save for retirement, to actually build the life we talked about wanting. There's more, Angela says during our next meeting. She slides a folder across the table. Victoria's social media suggests they spend every holiday together. Check the dates. I open the folder. Printed screenshots show Victoria's posts from the past 3 years. Thanksgiving dinner at a restaurant. Same day Derek told me he had to work because markets are volatile around holidays. Christmas Eve at a cabin. Same weekend Derek went on that guy's fishing trip. Valentine's Day this year, when Derek claimed he had food poisoning and spent the whole day in bed. Every special occasion. He chose her. What do you want to do with this information? Angela asks gently. I want a divorce. I want everything I'm entitled to, and I want him to understand exactly what he's lost. I meet with a divorce attorney named Robert Chen. No relation to Victoria. Just an unfortunate coincidence. His office is downtown, sterile and professional, with divorce law textbooks lining every wall. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of marital misconduct I've seen, Robert says after reviewing my evidence. The affair, the financial deception, using joint funds to support the affair. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, but this level of financial fraud will absolutely impact asset division. What am I looking at? You'll get more than half of marital assets. That apartment he's been paying for? Marital funds were used, so you're entitled to compensation. The money he spent on the affair, that's what we call waste of marital assets. He essentially gifted your joint money to his mistress. How much? Conservatively? With the apartment, the trips, the gifts, you're looking at maybe 60% of total assets, possibly more. Plus, if you want to pursue alienation of affection, Washington doesn't have that law. True. But we can make his life very difficult in other ways. Robert leans forward. Here's what I suggest. We file for divorce, request temporary orders for exclusive use of the marital home, freeze all joint accounts, and demand full financial disclosure. Then we let him scramble. When? Whenever you're ready. I think about Derek's trip to San Francisco next weekend. The one that's actually their anniversary celebration. The one he's missing our fake anniversary for while lying to both of us. I'll be ready on Monday, I say. That weekend, Derek packs for his business trip. I watch him fold his nice shirts, the ones he wears when he wants to look good. He's humming under his breath, happy, planning to celebrate a decade with his mistress while his wife, his actual wife, stays home alone. I'll miss you, I tell him at the airport drop-off. Miss you too, babe. He kisses me, and I wonder if he's already thinking about kissing her. I'll call you tonight. He doesn't call that night, or the next morning. At 2 p.m. on Saturday, exactly 12 years since Derek and I actually got married, I send him a text. Hope your anniversary celebration with Victoria is everything you wanted. My attorney will be in touch Monday. Then I block his number. 3 minutes later, my phone rings from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call. Another. I silence my phone and go to my friend Rachel's house, where I've been planning to stay for the weekend. Rachel meets me at the door with wine and fury. What can I do? Do you want me to slash his tires? I will absolutely slash his tires. I want you to help me drink this wine and remind me that I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. He's a lying piece of shit who's been living a double life for a decade. She pours me a glass. What happens Monday? I file for divorce. He gets served at his office. All our joint accounts get frozen, and he has to explain to Victoria why his wife knows her name. Good. Rachel raises her glass. To the next chapter. We drink to that. Monday morning, I wake up at 6 a.m. and check my email. Robert sent the filed documents at midnight. He wasn't kidding about moving fast. Derek will be served at his office this morning at 9 a.m. By 9:30, every account he has access to will be frozen pending the divorce proceedings. I get ready for work carefully. Professional clothes, makeup, hair neat. I look like myself, like everything is normal, even though my entire life is imploding. At 8:55, my phone buzzes with texts from an unknown number. I've unblocked Derek temporarily, just to see his reaction. "Sarah, please call me. We need to talk about this. You're making a huge mistake. This isn't what you think." At 9:15. "I've been served. Are you serious right now?" At 9:30. "The accounts are frozen? What the fuck, Sarah?" At 9:45. "You're going to regret this. I don't respond to any of them." Instead, I forward everything to Robert with a note. For the file. Derek shows up at our house that evening. I've changed the locks. Robert advised it, said it was legal since I have the temporary order for exclusive use of the property. Derek stands on the porch ringing the doorbell for 15 minutes while I sit in the living room with noise-canceling headphones, watching a show on my laptop. Eventually, he gives up. He tries calling from different numbers. He sends emails. He even tries reaching me through my work email, which is a mistake because now I have written evidence of him harassing me during business hours. 2 days later, I receive an email from Victoria Chen. The subject line is, "We need to talk." I debate whether to open it. Robert said I don't have to communicate with her. But curiosity wins. The email is long. It starts with, "I had no idea you didn't know about us," and goes downhill from there. She explains that Derek told her they were separated, that he was planning to file for divorce but waiting for the right time, that he kept you around for financial reasons and appearances. She says she loves him, that what they have is real, that she's sorry but she's not going to apologize for loving someone. The audacity is almost impressive. I forward the email to Robert without comment. He responds within an hour. "This is perfect. She's admitting to the affair and the timeline. Save everything." I send one response to Victoria. "He told me he was on business trips. He spent our joint money I earned, to pay for your apartment and your lifestyle. You're welcome for subsidizing your relationship for the past 8 years. Also, we were never separated. We had sex 3 days before he left for your anniversary weekend. Feel free to ask him about that." Then I block her too. The divorce proceedings move surprisingly fast once they start. Derek tries to fight the asset division, but Robert destroys him. We have documentation of every dollar he spent on the affair, bank statements showing transfers to his secret accounts, credit card bills from romantic hotels and expensive restaurants, Angela's surveillance photos showing him with Victoria when he claimed to be working. The judge is not impressed. During the hearing, Derek's attorney tries to argue that his personal relationships shouldn't impact financial settlements, and the judge cuts him off. "Counsel, your client spent approximately $500,000 of marital funds on an extramarital affair. He maintained a second residence for his mistress using money that belonged to both spouses. This isn't about personal relationships. This is about financial fraud." Derek goes pale. Victoria is in the courtroom. She insisted on coming, apparently thinking her presence would help somehow. She's crying silently in the back row. I don't feel sorry for her. The final settlement gives me 70% of marital assets. The house, most of the retirement accounts, and a lump sum payment to compensate for the money he wasted. Derek is also ordered to pay my attorney fees and Angela's investigation costs. His attorney looks shell-shocked. Derek looks like he's aged 10 years and 2 months. "Anything to say?" the judge asks him. Derek glances at me. Our eyes meet for the first time since I sent that text from the airport. I see regret there, and anger, and something that might be grief. "I'm sorry," he says. "No, you're not," I reply. "You're sorry you got caught." The divorce is finalized on December 3rd, exactly 6 weeks after that card arrived in our mailbox. I sign the papers in Robert's office, and he opens a bottle of champagne he keeps for occasions like this. "You handled this remarkably well," he tells me. "Most people fall apart. You documented everything, made strategic decisions, never let emotion override judgment." I had a good teacher. My father always said emotions are valid, but they shouldn't drive decisions. Smart man. He died 3 years ago. I think he'd be proud of how I handled this. I'm sure he would be. I drive home to my house. My house, mine alone now. And I sit in the quiet. It feels different without Derek's presence, without his laptop open on the dining table and his shoes by the door and his coffee mug in the sink. It feels empty, but it also feels clean. I heard through mutual friends that Derek and Victoria are still together. They moved in together officially, into a smaller apartment than the one he was paying for, since he can no longer afford Bellevue on his reduced assets. I heard Victoria was upset when she learned he'd lied to her about being separated, but apparently she got over it. Maybe she thinks she won. Maybe she thinks landing my ex-husband is a prize. Good luck to her. She'll need it. After all, if he cheated with her, he'll cheat on her. That's how these things work. I focus on rebuilding. I take the settlement money and pay off the house completely. No mortgage, no monthly payment hanging over my head. I invest the rest carefully. Ironically, I consult with a different financial advisor, a woman this time. I get promoted at work 3 months after the divorce finalizes. My boss says I've been exceptionally focused and driven lately. Turns out Fury is excellent for productivity. I start dating again in April. Nothing serious yet, just coffee dates and dinners with men who seem nice enough. One of them, a software engineer named Matthew, asked me about my divorce on our 3rd date. "Do you want to talk about what happened?" he asks carefully. No pressure if you don't. My ex-husband had a 10-year affair. I found out when his mistress sent an anniversary card to our house. He'd been using our joint money to pay for her apartment and their trips together. I documented everything, filed for divorce, and took him for 70% of marital assets. Matthew's eyes widen. Wow. Yeah, are you okay now? I think about the question, am I okay? I'm definitely different than I was a year ago. More careful, more cynical, less willing to trust blindly. But I'm also stronger, more confident, more certain of my ability to handle whatever life throws at me. I'm getting there, I tell him honestly. We don't work out. Matthew is nice but boring. And I realize I need more time before I'm ready for something real. But the fact that I tried feels like progress. It's now October again, almost a year since the card arrived. I'm sitting on my back porch on a Saturday morning, drinking coffee and reading a book. The house is quiet in a way that used to feel lonely, but now feels peaceful. I've redecorated, new paint, new furniture, plants everywhere. It looks like my space now, not our space. My phone buzzes with a text from Rachel. Drinks tonight? I have gossip. Always yes to gossip, I reply. We meet at our favorite wine bar downtown. Rachel is vibrating with excitement. Okay, so you know how I'm friends with Jessica, who works with Derek's ex-colleague? Yes, Derek got fired. Something about inappropriate use of company resources. Apparently, he was using his work credit card for personal expenses, and when they audited his accounts, they found years of questionable charges. I take a sip of my wine. How unfortunate for him. There's more. Victoria apparently left him last month, moved back to California. Word is she found out he'd been lying about his financial situation, told her he was way wealthier than he actually is. Once she realized he's basically broke after the divorce settlement, she was gone. I should feel vindicated. I should feel happy about his downfall. Instead, I just feel tired. Good for her for cutting her losses. Are you okay? Rachel asks. You seem calm about this. I am calm. Derek's life falling apart doesn't undo what he did, but it also isn't my problem anymore. He's not my husband. He's not my responsibility. He's just someone I used to know, and that's the truth. Derek has become a character in a story about my past, not a person in my present. The betrayal still stings sometimes, usually late at night when I'm alone with my thoughts. But mostly I've moved on. I've learned important things this year. I learned that trust is precious and should be given carefully. I learned that documentation saves lives, or at least divorces. I learned that I'm capable of handling devastation with strategic thinking rather than emotional chaos. Most importantly, I learned that betrayal tells you everything about someone else's character, and nothing about your own worth. Derek didn't cheat because I was insufficient or unlovable or boring. He cheated because he's the kind of person who compartmentalizes, who lies easily, who prioritizes his own pleasure over other people's pain. That's his failing, not mine. The card that arrived in our mailbox a year ago was catastrophic. It shattered my marriage, my trust, my vision of my future. But it also freed me from a relationship built on deception. It gave me the information I needed to protect myself legally and financially. It forced me to become someone who doesn't accept lies, even comfortable ones. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if that card had never arrived. If Victoria had been more careful, less sentimental, smart enough not to send anniversary wishes to her lover's home address. Would Derek still be living his double life? Would I still be the trusting wife, believing his business trips and late meetings, never questioning the man who promised to love me forever? Probably. And that would have been worse. Living a lie unknowingly is its own kind of tragedy. The card was a gift, in a twisted way. It was truth delivered in expensive stationery with a watercolor illustration of champagne glasses. It was the beginning of the end of my marriage, but also the beginning of my understanding that I'm strong enough to survive devastation. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm harder in some ways, softer in others, more careful with my trust, but also more confident in my judgment, less willing to ignore red flags, but also less afraid of being alone. I finish my wine and order another glass. Rachel is telling a story about her boss's latest ridiculous decision, and I'm laughing, and for this moment, in this wine bar, with my friend and my freedom and my future spreading out before me like an open road, I'm exactly where I need to be. The card arrived in our mailbox 12 months ago. I found it on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, addressed to my husband, signed by someone whose existence shattered my world. But I'm still here. Still standing, still building a life that's entirely mine. And that's the best revenge of all.